Admiral Kexthul had served the Zarathi Empire for over 200 years. He had seen rebellions crushed, entire star systems burned to ash, and countless species kneel before imperial might. Nothing surprised him anymore. Nothing should have been able to surprise him anymore. But the red warning light blinking on his command console made his blood run cold. "Sir?" his aide whispered, voice trembling. "There's a ship in the inner system." Kexthul stared at the tactical display floating above his command station. The massive hologram showed the Velthar Prime system in perfect detail. 17 layers of sensor nets, 43 patrol fleets, defense platforms that could destroy entire armadas. All of it had been bypassed. A single dot blinked steadily on the display. Unknown vessel. Classification? Frigate? Origin? Unknown. "How long has it been there?" Kexthul asked. "We don't know, sir. It just appeared." The Admiral's 4 eyes narrowed. In his 2 centuries of service, nothing had ever just appeared in Velthar Prime. This was the capital system of the greatest empire in galactic history, home to 40 billion Zarathi and the seat of power that ruled 40,000 star systems. "Full scan. I want to know everything about that ship." His officers worked frantically at their stations. The command center buzzed with activity as the most advanced sensors in the galaxy focused on the mysterious vessel. "Sir, the scan results are strange. Define strange. The ship appears to be a basic frigate, 300 meters long, standard configuration. But, sir, the materials are unknown. The power signature doesn't match any known technology." Kexthul studied the readings. The ship looked harmless enough. Just a small vessel, barely worth the attention of a patrol boat. But something felt wrong. In all his years, he had learned to trust that feeling. "Origin?" "Unknown, sir. But there are markings on the hull. Our computers are trying to translate them now." The translation appeared on his screen moments later. UES Dauntless. Below that, smaller text. United Earthship. Earth? Kexthul had heard the name before. A small world on the galactic rim. Home to a species called humans. They had made contact 50 years ago, but the Empire had barely paid attention. Just another primitive race with a few dozen colonies. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the vessel." "Put it through." The main display flickered and showed the bridge of the alien ship. Kexthul found himself looking at a human for the first time. The creature was smaller than a Zarathi, with only 2 eyes and strange pale skin. It wore a simple uniform and sat calmly in what was clearly the captain's chair. "I am Captain Hyunwoo Kim of the United Earth ship Dauntless," the human said. His voice was steady, showing no fear. "We request permission to speak with your emperor," Kexthul almost laughed. This tiny creature from a backwater world wanted to speak with the ruler of the galaxy's greatest empire. "Human vessel," Kexthul replied. "You have violated Imperial space. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Captain Hyunwoo smiled. It was not the expression of a being facing certain death. It was the smile of someone who knew something his enemy did not. "Admiral, we haven't come here to fight. We've come here to talk. But if you insist on a demonstration of our capabilities, we're prepared to provide one." The transmission ended. Kexthul stared at the blank screen. In 200 years of service, no one had ever spoken to him like that. Not rebellious governors, not pirate lords, not even enemy admirals facing defeat. The human's calm confidence was disturbing. "Sir, should we alert the Third Fleet?" "No." Kexthul studied the tactical display again. "Send a single squadron. 6 ships. That should be more than enough to deal with 1 frigate." On board the Dauntless, Captain Hyun-woo Kim turned to his bridge crew. Each of them was carefully chosen for this mission, the best humanity had to offer. Commander Park, what's our status? Yoon-ji Park, his tactical officer, checked her displays. All systems green, sir. Stealth systems are stable. Weapons are ready. The crew is at battle stations. Engineering? Fusion drive at optimal efficiency, reported Jin-Ho Lee from his station. All experimental systems are online and functioning within normal parameters. Hyun-woo nodded. The Dauntless looked like a simple frigate, but it represented the best of human technology. Every system had been designed and built specifically for this mission, to show the galaxy that humanity would not be ignored. Communications. Any response. From the Zarathi? Min-Soo Choi listened to his equipment. 6 ships approaching, sir. Heavy cruisers by their signatures. They're demanding our surrender. Let them get closer. We want them to see everything clearly. The human crew worked with quiet efficiency. Each of them knew the odds. 6 Zarathi cruisers against 1 human frigate. Each enemy ship was twice the size of the Dauntless and carried enough firepower to level a city. But they also knew something the Zarathi did not. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Sir, reported So Young Nam from her station, I'm detecting massive fleet movements throughout the system. It looks like they're bringing in reinforcements. How many? At least 300 ships, sir. Maybe more. Hyun-woo felt a cold satisfaction. The Zarathi were taking them seriously after all. Good. That would make the lesson more effective. Bo-ram, what's the analysis of their approach? Chief Science Officer Bo-ram Kim studied the enemy formations. Standard Imperial tactics, sir. They're trying to surround us with overwhelming force. Classic Zarathi doctrine. And what does that tell us? They still think they're facing a standard frigate, sir. They have no idea what we're really capable of. Hyun-woo smiled the same smile he had shown the Admiral. Around him, his crew made final preparations. Dong-hyun Park at navigation plotted escape routes. Jae-sung-oh at the helm tested the ship's responses. Every system hummed with readiness. Back on the command station, Admiral Kexathul watched his squadron close in on the human ship. The 6 cruisers moved in perfect formation, weapons powered and ready. It should have been over in seconds. Sir, the human vessel is not retreating. Perhaps their engines are damaged. No, sir. All scans show their ship is fully operational. They're just sitting there. Kexathul frowned. Every instinct told him something was wrong, but he had 6 of the Empire's most advanced warships against 1 small frigate. The outcome was certain. Order them to fire warning shots. If the humans don't surrender immediately, destroy them. The lead cruiser fired its main guns. Massive energy beams lanced across space, designed to disable the human ship's engines. Instead, something impossible happened. The Dauntless moved, not the slow, ponderous movement of a typical frigate. It moved like a fighter, spinning and diving with impossible grace. The Zarathi weapons missed completely. What just happened? Kexathul demanded. Sir, the human ship is moving far faster than should be possible for a vessel that size. Before anyone could respond, the Dauntless fired back. Blue energy beams struck the lead cruiser's shields. The Zarathi vessel shuddered. Under the impact. Damage report. Forward shields down 30%, sir. How is that possible? They're using weapons that shouldn't exist on a ship that small. Admiral Kexathul stared at the tactical display. The human frigate was dancing between his cruisers, moving too fast for their weapons to track. Each time it fired, another of his ships took damage. For the first time in 200 years, Admiral Kexathul felt something he had forgotten existed. Fear. Emperor Zilkoth had ruled the Zarathi Empire for 300 years. His palace floated in the clouds of Velthar Prime, a massive structure that could house entire cities. From his throne room, he could see the stars that belonged to him. 40,000 systems, trillions of subjects, the greatest empire in galactic history. The emergency alarm had never sounded in his palace before. "Explain," he commanded as his advisors rushed into the throne room. General Vextar, commander of all Imperial forces, bowed low. "Your Imperial Majesty, there has been an incident in the home system. A single alien vessel has penetrated our defenses." "One ship?" "Yes, Your Majesty. A frigate from a species called humans. Admiral Kexthul engaged it with a squadron of cruisers." Zilkoth's massive form shifted on his throne. The Emperor stood 4 meters tall, his carapace gleaming black in the throne room's light. 4 red eyes focused on his general with deadly intensity. "And?" "The squadron was defeated, Your Majesty. All 6 ships were destroyed." Silence filled the vast chamber. Emperor Zilkoth had conquered species across half the galaxy. He had faced rebellions, invasions, and civil wars. Never in 3 centuries had anyone defeated an Imperial squadron with a single ship. Impossible. "I thought so as well, Your Majesty. But the reports are confirmed. 6 cruisers destroyed by 1 frigate. The Emperor's claws clicked against his throne's armrests. The sound echoed through the chamber like gunshots. "What do we know about these humans?" Intelligence Minister Kexthul stepped forward nervously. "Very little, Your Majesty. They are a young species from the Galactic Rim. First contact was made 50 years ago, but they were deemed unimportant. Their territory covers perhaps 50 star systems. 50 systems against our 40,000. And one of their ships just destroyed 6 of ours." "Yes, Your Majesty." Zilkoth stood slowly. When the Emperor of the galaxy's greatest power stood, everyone paid attention. His 4 eyes blazed with fury and something else. Interest. "I will handle this personally." The entire room fell silent. The Emperor had not personally commanded a military operation in over a century. "Your Majesty," General Vextar said carefully, "surely this is beneath your attention. I can dispatch the 3rd Armada to deal with this single ship." "The 3rd Armada?" 500 vessels, Your Majesty, the finest ships in the Imperial Navy. Admiral Velkarn will command them." Zilkoth considered this. 500 ships against 1. Even if these humans possessed superior technology, numbers would tell, and the galaxy would see what happened to those who challenged Imperial authority. "Do it. But I want to observe personally. Have my flagship prepared." "Your Majesty, that may not be safe." The Emperor's roar silenced the general. "Are you suggesting that 1 alien frigate poses a threat to the Imperial flagship?" "No, Your Majesty, of course not." On board the Dauntless, Captain Hyunwoo received the sensor reports with grim satisfaction. The Zarathi were responding exactly as Earth Command had predicted. 500 ships, reported Commander Yoonji Park. "They're forming up in attack formation. Standard Imperial doctrine." "And the flagship?" "Confirmed, sir. The Emperor's personal dreadnought is with the fleet. Looks like we got his attention." Hyunwoo nodded. The mission was proceeding perfectly. Earth had spent 50 years studying the Zarathi Empire, learning their tactics, their technology, their weaknesses. Most importantly, they had learned about Zarathi arrogance. "Communications. Open a channel to the Imperial fleet." Min-Soo Choi's fingers danced across his console. "Channel open, sir. They're responding." The main screen showed the bridge of a massive Zarathi warship. Admiral Velkarn sat in a command chair that could have housed a small family. Behind him, dozens of officers worked at stations that looked more like altars than control panels. "Human vessel," Velkarn's voice boomed. Through the speakers, "I am Admiral Velkarn of the 3rd Imperial Armada. You have violated sacred Imperial space and destroyed ships of the Imperial Navy. Surrender immediately, and you will be granted a quick death." Hyun-woo stood calmly in front of his command chair. Behind him, his bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. The contrast between the two ships could not have been greater. The Zarathi bridge was massive, ornate, designed to intimidate. The human bridge was compact, functional, built for efficiency. "Admiral Velkarn," Hyun-woo replied. "I am Captain Hyun-woo Kim of the United Earth ship Dauntless. We have not come here to surrender. We have come here to deliver a message. The only message the Empire wishes to hear from your species is your surrender. Then you're going to be disappointed." Hyun-woo gestured to his communications officer. Min-soo activated a special transmission that would broadcast on every frequency used by the Zarathi fleet. "People of the Zarathi Empire," Hyun-woo began, "you have ruled this galaxy through fear and overwhelming force. You crush any species that resists. You believe yourselves superior to all other life." Admiral Velkarn tried to cut the transmission, but Min-soo's electronic warfare systems were already inside the Zarathi communications network. "Today, you face humanity. We are not the largest species in the galaxy. We are not the oldest. We do not have the biggest fleet or the most advanced technology, but we have something you have forgotten." The transmission continued across the entire Zarathi fleet. 500 ship captains listened to words no one had ever dared speak to the Empire. "We have the will to fight when fighting seems impossible. We have the courage to stand when standing means death. We have the determination to never surrender, no matter the odds." Emperor Zilkoth watched the transmission from his flagship's command center. The human captain's words echoed through the massive chamber where 1,000 crew members worked to coordinate the Imperial fleet. "Your Imperial Majesty," Admiral Velkarn's voice came through the communications system. "Should we destroy the ship immediately?" "No," Zilkoth replied slowly. "Let them finish their little speech. I want the galaxy to hear what happens to those who defy us." On the Dauntless, Hyun-woo continued his message. "Admiral Velkarn, you have 500 ships. We have 1. By every measure of military logic, you should win this engagement easily. But there's something you don't understand about humans." "And what is that?" Velkarn asked, his voice dripping with contempt. "We don't fight fair." The transmission ended. Throughout the Imperial fleet, officers looked at each other with confusion. What did the human mean? They had overwhelming numerical superiority. Their ships were larger, their weapons more powerful. How could one frigate fight unfairly against 500 capital ships? Emperor Zilkoth felt a strange sensation in his stomach. It took him a moment to recognize what it was. Doubt. "Admiral Velkarn," he commanded, "destroy that ship. Now!" "Yes, Your Imperial Majesty. All ships. Attack formation. Target the human vessel. Fire at will." The space around the Dauntless filled with weapons fire. 500 ships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic projectiles filled the void. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon focused on one tiny frigate. But the Dauntless was no longer where it had been. "Where did it go?" Velkarn shouted. "Unknown, sir. It vanished from our sensors. That's impossible. Nothing can hide from Imperial sensors." Deep in the Dauntless's engineering section, Jin-Ho Lee monitored their experimental stealth systems. Human scientists had spent decades developing technology specifically designed to fool Zarathi sensors. It had never been tested in actual combat before. "Stealth field holding steady," he reported to the bridge. "We're invisible to their scans." "How long can we maintain it?" asked Captain Hyun-woo. "Maybe 10 minutes, sir. Then we'll have to show ourselves." 10 minutes is enough." Hyun-woo turned to his tactical officer. "Commander Park, begin protocol." "Defiance." Yoon-ji Park smiled grimly. Protocol Defiance was the tactical doctrine humanity had developed for fighting superior forces. It went against every principle of traditional warfare. "Protocol Defiance initiated, sir. All weapons armed, target priorities locked." "Navigation. Take us into the heart of their formation." Dong-hyun Park's hands moved across his controls. "Course. Plotted, sir. Taking us right through the middle of their fleet." Emperor Zilkoth watched his fleet fire into empty space. The human ship had simply vanished. His most advanced sensors could find no trace of it. "Your Imperial Majesty," one of his officers reported, "we're detecting strange energy readings throughout the fleet." "What kind of readings?" Before anyone could answer, the Dauntless reappeared. Not at the edge of the Imperial formation where logic said it should be, but in the exact center of 500 enemy ships, and it was no longer the same ship that had entered the system. The Dauntless that reappeared in the center of the Zarathi formation was not the same ship that had vanished 10 minutes earlier. Hidden armor plating had deployed along its hull, transforming the sleek frigate into something that looked almost alien. Weapon ports had opened in dozens of locations that sensors had shown as empty space. The ship's profile had changed completely. Admiral Velkarn stared at his tactical display in confusion. "What happened to their ship?" "Unknown, sir. It appears to have undergone some kind of transformation." Emperor Zilkoth leaned forward on his throne aboard the Imperial flagship. In 300 years of rule, he had never seen anything like this. Ships did not simply change their configuration in the middle of battle. "Scan it again. Full analysis." The results came back moments later, and they made no sense. "Your Imperial Majesty, the ship's mass has not changed, but its power output has increased by 300%. We're detecting weapon systems that were not there before." "Impossible! Matter cannot be created from nothing." "Yes, Your Imperial Majesty, but the readings are confirmed." On the bridge of the Dauntless, Captain Hyun-woo watched his crew work with deadly precision. Years of preparation had led to this moment. "All systems show green," reported Jin-Ho Lee from engineering. "Armor deployment complete. Weapons are online and ready." "Outstanding. Commander Park, show our hosts what human engineering looks like." Yoon-ji. Park's fingers moved across her tactical console like a musician playing a deadly song. "Target lock acquired on 12 enemy vessels. Firing solutions optimized." Fire. The Dauntless erupted in light. Weapons that had been hidden throughout the ship's hull fired simultaneously. Not the simple energy beams that most species used, but something far more advanced. Railguns that could accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds. Particle beams that could cut through any known armor. Plasma cannons that burned hotter than most stars. 12 Zarathi cruisers died in the first volley. Admiral Velkarn watched in horror as his ships simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris field. The human weapons had been so powerful that they had completely vaporized their targets. "Return fire! All ships, return fire!" The response was immediate. 488 Zarathi warships opened fire on the single human frigate. The space around the Dauntless filled with enough destructive energy to crack a planet's crust. But the human ship was moving. Jae-sung. Oh. The Dauntless's pilot pushed their engines beyond all safety limits. The ship danced through the weapon fire like it weighed nothing at all. Zarathi energy beams passed through empty space where the frigate had been microseconds before. "How is it moving like that?" Emperor Zilkoth demanded. "Unknown, Your Imperial Majesty. No ship that size should be able to maneuver with such speed and precision." The answer lay in humanity's approach to ship design. While other species built massive vessels designed to overpower their enemies, humans had focused on speed, agility, and efficiency. The Dauntless was not just a warship, it was a demonstration of everything humanity had learned about warfare. "Engineering, I need more power," Captain Hyunwoo called out. "Already at 110%, sir," Jin Ho replied. "Any higher, and we risk containment failure. The Zarathi are at 100%. We need to be better." "Understood, sir." Pushing to 115%, the ship's engines screamed as they exceeded every design specification. Human engineering had always been about pushing boundaries, finding ways to do the impossible. Today, that philosophy was being tested against the galaxy's greatest military power. "So Young, deploy electronic warfare systems." So Young Nam had been waiting for this order. Her fingers flew across her console as she unleashed humanity's most advanced cyber warfare technology against the Zarathi fleet, penetrating their communications. "Network now, sir. Taking control of their targeting systems." Across the Imperial fleet, gun crews found their weapons turning on their own ships. Friend or foe identification systems suddenly marked Zarathi vessels as enemy targets. Communications channels filled with false orders and contradictory commands. "What's happening to our fleet?" Admiral Velkarn shouted. "The humans have somehow infiltrated our computer systems, sir. Our ships are firing on each other." Emperor Zilkoth felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Panic. His fleet, the most powerful military force in known space, was being torn apart by a single enemy ship. "How many vessels have we lost?" 47 destroyed, Your Imperial Majesty. 63 more showing significant damage. In less than 20 minutes, one human frigate had crippled over 100 Imperial warships. The mathematics were impossible, but the results were undeniable. On the Dauntless, Chief Science Officer Bo-Ram Kim monitored the enemy formations and analyzed their tactics in real time. "Captain, they're adapting to our electronic warfare. Their computer systems are starting to reject our intrusion attempts." "Time frame? Maybe 10 more minutes before they can completely lock us out, sir." Hyunwoo nodded. The Zarathi were not stupid. They were learning from each attack, developing countermeasures. But humanity had planned for this too. Bo-Ram. Implement adaptive protocols. Every time they block one approach, try something different. "Already on it, sir. Their systems are advanced, but they're also standardized across their entire fleet. That gives us an advantage." The battle became a deadly dance of technology and tactics. Each time the Zarathi developed a defense, the humans found a new way to attack. Each time the humans tried a new approach, the Zarathi adapted to counter it. But the Dauntless had one advantage the Imperial fleet could not match: creativity. Navigation. Plot a course through their formation, something they won't expect. Dong-hyun. Park studied the enemy positions. "Sir, their ships are arranged in a standard Imperial battle formation. Very rigid, very predictable." "Then let's do something unpredictable." The Dauntless suddenly accelerated directly toward the largest concentration. of enemy ships. Every weapon in that sector opened fire, creating a wall of destructive energy that no ship could possibly survive. The human frigate flew straight through it. "Impossible!" Emperor Zilkoth roared. "Nothing can survive that much firepower." The human ship appears to have some kind of adaptive shielding, Your Imperial Majesty. Their defensive systems are adjusting to our weapons in real time. This was humanity's greatest innovation. Instead of building thicker armor or more powerful shields, human engineers had created defensive systems that learned from each attack. Every energy beam that struck the Dauntless made its shields more resistant to that type of weapon. "Commander Park, target their command ships. Take out their ability to coordinate." "Yes, sir. Targeting Imperial command vessels." The Dauntlesses' weapons spoke again. This time they focused on the heavy cruisers and dreadnoughts that served as fleet command posts. Without central coordination, the Imperial fleet began to break apart into smaller groups. "Sir," reported Min-Su Choi from communications, "I'm intercepting Zerathi transmissions. Their fleet commanders are panicking. Some are requesting permission to withdraw." "Good. The more confusion we can create, the better our chances." But Captain Hyunwoo knew their luck could not last forever. The Dauntless was taking damage despite its advanced defenses. Systems were failing, armor was being stripped away, and his crew was being pushed to their limits. "Damage report. Forward. Shields down to 60%, reported Jin-Ho. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 7. We've lost 2 of our main railguns." "Casualties?" 17 wounded, sir. No fatalities yet." Hyun-Woo felt a surge of pride in his crew. They were facing impossible odds and still performing miracles. "Your Imperial Majesty," Admiral Velkarn's voice came through the communications system. "Request permission to withdraw the fleet. We cannot continue to sustain these losses." Emperor Zilkoth stared at the tactical display. His fleet was being destroyed by a single enemy ship. If word of this defeat spread throughout the galaxy, every species under Imperial rule would see it as a sign of weakness. "Negative. Continue the attack. Deploy the dreadnoughts." "Your Imperial Majesty, the dreadnoughts are our most powerful vessels. If we lose them, we will not lose them to one frigate. Deploy them now." 20 massive ships broke away from the main fleet. Each dreadnought was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. They moved, slowly but inexorably, toward the Dauntless. "Captain," Yunji reported grimly, 20 dreadnoughts approaching. Their weapons can punch through our shields in one hit." Hyunwoo studied the tactical display. The end game was approaching. Soon they would have to choose between retreat and certain destruction, but the mission was not complete yet. The galaxy needed to see what happened when you underestimated humanity. "All hands, prepare for final phase operations. It's time to show them our biggest surprise." Emperor Zilkoth watched his tactical display with growing horror. In 30 minutes of combat, the human frigate had destroyed 63 Imperial warships and damaged over 100 more. The impossible was happening before his eyes. "Your Imperial Majesty," his chief advisor whispered. "Perhaps we should consider negotiation." The Emperor's 4 eyes blazed with fury. "Negotiation? With a species we had never heard of until today?" "Your Imperial Majesty, they have proven their military capability. Perhaps there is wisdom in—" Silence. Zilkoth's roar echoed through the flagship's command center. "I am Emperor of 40,000 star systems. I will not negotiate with primitives." But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. How had the Empire's intelligence services missed this? How could a species with only 50 colonies field such advanced technology? "Bring me Intelligence Minister Kexdal." Now. The intelligence minister arrived within minutes, his carapace pale with fear. "Your Imperial Majesty, explain to me how." "We knew nothing about human military capabilities." Kextal trembled. "Your Imperial Majesty, all our reports indicated they were a primitive species. They have only been spacefaring for 300 years. Their territory is tiny compared to ours. And yet one of their ships is destroying my fleet." "Yes, your Imperial Majesty, it appears our intelligence was incomplete." Zilkoth studied the tactical display again. The human ship continued to dance through his fleet formations, destroying everything that came near it. His dreadnoughts were closing in, but somehow he doubted even they would be enough. What else do we not know about them? "Your Imperial Majesty, I am ordering a complete review of all human intelligence files, but it will take time. Time we may not have." On board the Dauntless, Captain Hyun-woo received an update from his chief science officer. "Boram, what's your analysis of their fleet?" "Movements?" Boram Kim studied her displays carefully. "They're adapting faster than we expected, sir. The dreadnoughts are using different targeting algorithms. They're learning from our tactics. How long before they can effectively counter our advantages?" "Maybe another hour, sir. Their technology is impressive, even if their tactics are rigid." Hyun-woo nodded. The Zarathi Empire had not conquered half the galaxy by accident. They were learning, adapting, and bringing more firepower to bear with each passing minute. "Min-Soo, what are you hearing from their communications?" Communications Officer Min-Soo Choi listened to the intercepted Zarathi transmissions. "Panic, sir. Fleet commanders are requesting orders, but their command structure is breaking down. Some ships are acting independently." "And the Emperor?" "Still commanding from his flagship, sir, but I'm detecting arguments among his staff. Some want to negotiate, others want to bring in more fleets." "More fleets?" "Yes, sir. Intelligence suggests they have at least 10 more armadas within jumping distance of this system." Hyun-woo felt a chill. 5,000 ships. Even the Dauntless could not fight those odds. So young, status on their computer systems? So young. Nam shook her head grimly. "They've locked down most of their networks, sir. I can still cause some disruption, but nothing like before. They're isolating their systems ship by ship." The battle was entering a new phase. The Zarathi were no longer underestimating their enemy. They were bringing their full technological capability to bear. Engineering. "How are we holding up?" Jin-Ho Lee checked his damage reports. "Not good, sir. We're down to 40% shield strength. Hull integrity is at 70%, and our power systems are running beyond safe limits." "How much longer can we maintain this?" "Maybe 30 minutes, sir. After that, we risk catastrophic system failures." Captain Hyun-woo looked around his bridge. His crew had performed miracles, but they were reaching their limits. It was time for the final phase of their mission. "All stations, prepare for deep strike operations." Throughout the ship, crew members made final preparations. The Dauntless had one more surprise for the Zarathi Empire. Emperor Zilkoth watched. His dreadnoughts close in on the human ship. Each of the massive vessels carried enough firepower to destroy small moons. Surely nothing could survive a coordinated attack from 20 dreadnoughts. "Admiral Velkarn, coordinate the dreadnought." "Attack! I want that ship destroyed." "Yes, Your Imperial Majesty." "All dreadnoughts, attack formation Alpha. Target the human vessel. Fire when ready." The 20 massive ships arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the Dauntless, their main guns charged with energies that could crack planets. There was no escape. "Fire!" 20 planet-killing beams lanced through space toward the single human frigate. The combined energy output was enough to sterilize an entire world. The beams struck empty space. "Where did it go?" Admiral Velkarn shouted. "Unknown, sir. It vanished again." "That's impossible. We had it surrounded." Deep in space, cloaked by their most advanced stealth systems, the Dauntless watched the Zarathi dreadnoughts fire at nothing. Captain Hyunwoo had ordered the ship to cloak just before the attack, leaving the massive Imperial vessels to waste their most powerful weapons on empty space. "Navigation, plot a course to the Imperial flagship." Dong-hyun Park's hands trembled slightly as he input the coordinates. "Sir, that will take us through the heart of their entire fleet." "I know." "Do it anyway." "Yes, sir. Course plotted." "So Young, I need you to do something that's probably impossible." The AI specialist looked up from her console. "What do you need, sir?" "I need you to hack into the Emperor's personal flagship, not their weapons or shields, their communications system." So Young's eyes widened. "Sir, the flagship will have the most advanced security in their fleet." "It might not be possible." "Might not be is not the same as impossible. How long do you need?" "If I can get close enough, maybe 10 minutes, sir. You'll have them." The Dauntless began moving through the Zarathi fleet while cloaked. It was the most dangerous thing they had attempted yet. One sensor sweep, one lucky shot, and they would be destroyed instantly. "Engineering, give me everything you have. We need maximum stealth." "Already on it, sir. Routing all non-essential power to the cloaking system." Emperor Zilkoth stood in his command center, surrounded by his most senior officers. The human ship had vanished again, and his fleet was firing blindly into space. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "No cloaking technology can hide a ship from our sensors." "Your Imperial Majesty," his science advisor spoke carefully, "perhaps their technology is more advanced than we assumed." "More advanced? They are a primitive species from the galactic rim." "Yes, Your Imperial Majesty. But the evidence suggests otherwise." For the first time in 3 centuries, Emperor Zilkoth began to doubt the Empire's superiority. How could a species with 50 star systems develop technology that surpassed the Empire's best scientists? "Your Imperial Majesty," Admiral Velkarn's voice came through the communication system. "We've lost contact with 3 more dreadnoughts." "What do you mean, lost contact?" "They're not responding to signals, sir, but they appear to be undamaged." "Send ships to investigate." "Already dispatched, Your Imperial Majesty." Unknown to the Emperor, the Dauntless was moving steadily closer to his flagship. In the ship's computer core, So Young Nam worked frantically to penetrate the most secure systems in the Zarathi Empire. "Captain, I'm detecting their security protocols. This is going to be more difficult than I thought. Do your best. We only get one chance at this." "Understood, sir." The Dauntless approached the massive Imperial flagship. The vessel was over 5 kilometers long and housed the personal quarters of the galaxy's most powerful ruler. Its defenses were legendary. Range to target? 2,000 kilometers and closing, sir, reported Dong-hyun. "So Young, how are you doing?" "I'm in their outer systems, sir. But the flagship's computer core is isolated from the main network. I need to get closer." "How much closer?" 500 meters, sir." Captain Hyunwoo felt his blood run cold. 500 meters from the Emperor's flagship while cloaked was essentially suicide. If their stealth failed for even a second, every weapon on the ship would destroy them. "Navigation, take us in." "Sir, if they detect us..." "They won't. Take us in." The Dauntless crept closer to the massive flagship. Through the viewports, the crew could see the lights of the Imperial vessel. Somewhere inside that ship, the Emperor of the galaxy's greatest power was trying to understand how his fleet was being defeated by one small frigate. 500 meters, sir. So Young, you're up. The AI specialist's fingers moved across her console like lightning. Human cyber warfare technology, developed in secret for decades, reached out toward the Empire's most protected computer systems. I'm in, sir. Accessing their communications array. Do it. Across the Zarathi fleet, every ship's communication system activated simultaneously. But instead of orders from the fleet command, they received something else, a transmission from Earth. The transmission that flooded every communication system in the Zarathi fleet was unlike anything the Empire had ever received. Instead of military threats or demands for surrender, it was a history lesson. Emperor Zilkoth found himself staring at a blue and green world spinning slowly in space. Earth. A voice spoke over the image, calm and measured. 3 billion years ago, life began on a world at the edge of the galaxy. For most of that time, it was a place of incredible danger. Ice ages that lasted millions of years. Asteroid impacts that wiped out entire ecosystems. Volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun. The image changed, showing massive glaciers, exploding volcanoes, and creatures locked in desperate struggle for survival. The life that survived on this world learned one lesson above all others: adapt or die. Throughout the Imperial fleet, Zarathi officers watched in confusion as the transmission continued. This was not what they expected from an enemy under attack. 2. 100,000 years ago, a species called humanity emerged from this crucible. They were not the strongest creatures on their world. They were not the fastest or the largest. But they had something else. The image showed early humans, small and vulnerable compared to the massive predators that shared their world. They had intelligence, and they had something even more dangerous. They refused to accept defeat. On board the Dauntless, Captain Hyunwoo watched the transmission with satisfaction. Earth Command had prepared this message years ago, waiting for the right moment to use it. Minsu, make sure every ship in their fleet receives this. I want them all to understand what they're facing. Yes, sir. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Uriwi. Transmission continued, showing humanity's long struggle for survival and dominance on Earth. Humans faced extinction dozens of times. Ice ages, plagues, wars, natural disasters. Each time they found a way to survive. Each time they became stronger. Emperor Zilkoth felt a strange sensation as he watched the images. His own species had evolved on a peaceful world, gradually developing technology and expanding into space. They had never faced the constant threat of extinction that seemed to define human existence. When humans finally reached the stars, they brought this history with them. Every human ship carries the memory of a species that has never accepted defeat. Admiral Velkarn's voice crackled through the communication system. Your Imperial Majesty, should we block this transmission? No, Zilkoth replied slowly. Let it continue. I want to understand what we're facing. The transmission showed human colonies spreading across the galaxy. Not the massive settlements favored by other species, but small, efficient outposts designed for survival in hostile environments. For 300 years, humanity has watched the Zarathi Empire. We have studied your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. We have prepared for this moment. The image changed to show the construction of the Dauntless. not in massive shipyards like those used by the Empire, but in hidden facilities built into asteroids and moons. The ship you are fighting represents 50 years of human innovation. Every system was designed specifically to counter Imperial technology. Every weapon was built to penetrate Imperial defenses. So, young Nam monitored the Zarathi fleet's reaction to the transmission. "Captain, their communications are in chaos. Ship commanders are demanding explanations from Fleet Command." "And the Emperor?" "Still watching, sir. His flagship has gone." "Silent." Captain Hyunwoo nodded. The psychological warfare was working as planned. The Zarathi Empire was built on the assumption of their own superiority. Learning that they had been watched and studied for decades was shattering that confidence. The transmission continued with images of human military doctrine. Other species build massive fleets to overwhelm their enemies. Humans build precision, instruments designed to fight against impossible odds. We don't fight fair, because fairness is a luxury we have never been able to afford. Emperor Zilkoth watched footage of human military exercises. Ships that moved with impossible precision, weapons that could adapt to any defense, tactics that seemed to defy military logic. "Your Imperial Majesty," his science advisor whispered, "their approach to warfare is completely different from anything we've encountered." "How so?" "Most species, including ourselves, rely on overwhelming force. But humans appear to specialize in defeating superior numbers through technological and tactical superiority." The Emperor studied the images more carefully. Human ships were indeed smaller than Imperial vessels, but they moved with a grace and speed that made his own fleet look clumsy by comparison. The transmission shifted to show human colonies throughout the galaxy. "The ship you are fighting is not alone. Human vessels have been deployed to 12 Imperial systems. Each one carries the same message we bring to you today." Admiral Velkarn's voice came through the communications system with obvious panic. "Your Imperial Majesty, we're receiving reports from across the Empire. Human ships have appeared in the Kexvar system, the Zulthar system, and 8 others. How many ships?" "Unknown, Your Imperial Majesty. Our commanders report single vessels in each system, but they all appear to be as advanced as the one we're facing here." Zilkoth felt his confidence crumbling. The attack on Velthar Prime was not an isolated incident. It was part of a coordinated operation that spanned his entire empire. The transmission showed Captain Hyunwoo standing on the bridge of the Dauntless. "Emperor Zilkoth, you have ruled through fear for 3 centuries. You crush any species that resists. You believe your technology and numbers make you invincible." The captain's voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. "Today, you face a species that has been forged by adversity. We are not the largest power in the galaxy. We are not the oldest, but we are the most determined. Throughout the Imperial fleet, officers listened to words no one had ever dared speak to their emperor. We did not come here to conquer your empire. We came here to deliver a message. Humanity will not be ignored. We will not be conquered. We will not surrender." Emperor Zilkoth found himself leaning forward on his throne. The human captain's words carried a conviction that was almost hypnotic. "You can destroy this ship. You can hunt down our colonies. You can spend the next century trying to eliminate our species. But you will fail." "Why?" Zilkoth whispered to himself. As if answering his question, the transmission showed images of Earth's history. Wars that had raged for decades, cities that had been rebuilt dozens of times, a species that had turned conflict itself into a tool for advancement. Because humans do not know how to quit. We have been fighting for survival since the day we evolved. Every war makes us stronger. Every defeat teaches us new ways to win. The transmission showed human children learning to fight before they could walk properly. Human scientists working in laboratories built inside military bunkers. Human engineers designing weapons while under enemy fire. This is not just a species that fights. This is a species that was born from warfare itself. On board the Dauntless, Chief Science Officer Bo-Ram Kim monitored the Imperial Fleet's response to the transmission. Captain, their fleet formation is breaking down. Some ships are moving away from the battle zone. Fear? More like confusion, sir. They're receiving conflicting orders from multiple command sources. Captain Hyunwoo smiled grimly. The psychological warfare was having its intended effect. The Zarathi Empire's greatest weakness was its rigid command structure. When that structure was disrupted, individual ship commanders had no idea how to respond. The transmission concluded with a final image of the Dauntless, surrounded by the entire Imperial fleet. Emperor Zilkoth, look around you. 500 ships, against one. You should have won this battle before it began, but you haven't. And that should tell you everything you need to know about humanity. The communication systems throughout the fleet went silent. Emperor Zilkoth sat in his command center, surrounded by his most senior officers. For the first time in 3 centuries, he had no idea what to do next. Your Imperial Majesty, Admiral. Velkarn's voice was barely above a whisper. What are your orders? Zilkoth stared at the tactical display. The human ship was still there, still fighting his entire fleet, still winning. What would you advise, Admiral? Your Imperial Majesty, I don't know. Nothing in our tactical doctrine covers this situation. The Emperor of the galaxy's greatest power had just admitted that he was facing something beyond his understanding. And somewhere in the depths of space, hidden by their most advanced stealth technology, the crew of the Dauntless prepared for the final phase of their mission. Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood in the center of his bridge, watching the tactical display that showed the impossible. 500 Zarathi warships surrounded the Dauntless in 3-dimensional space. Every weapon in the Imperial fleet was trained on the small section of space where his ship hid under cloak. Captain, Yunji Park reported quietly. Our stealth systems are failing. The Zarathi have begun using rotating sensor frequencies. They'll detect us within 5 minutes. Engineering. Status? Jinho Lee checked his displays with growing concern. Severe damage to multiple systems, sir. Hull integrity at 55%. We've lost half our weapons, and our shields are nearly gone. Hyunwoo nodded calmly. The Dauntless had fought admirably, but the laws of physics could not be defied. Forever. One ship, no matter how advanced, could not fight 500 enemies indefinitely. So Young, can you maintain our hack of their communications? For maybe 10 more minutes, sir. Their security systems are adapting to my intrusion methods. 10 minutes should be enough. The captain turned to his navigation officer. Dong-hyun, I need a course plotted. Where to, sir? The Emperor's flagship, the A. Bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at their captain with expressions of shock and disbelief. Sir, Dong-hyun said carefully, the flagship is in the center of their formation. It's protected by 50 dreadnoughts and 100 cruisers. We'd have to fight through the entire fleet to reach it. I know. Sir, that's suicide. Hyunwoo smiled the same calm smile he had worn since entering the Zarathi system. Is it? Or is it the one thing they would never expect? Yunji Park understood first. Sir, you're not planning to fight through their fleet. No, Commander, I'm planning to go around it. The captain activated the ship's internal communications system. All hands, this is the captain. In 2 minutes, we're going to attempt something that has never been tried in the history of space warfare. We're going to perform a point-blank hyperspace jump. Throughout the ship, crew members exchanged glances of amazement and terror. Hyperspace jumps required careful calculation and safe distances from gravity wells. Attempting to jump while surrounded by hundreds of massive ships was considered impossible. Engineering. Can our drives handle a micro-jump? Jin-Ho Lee stared at his controls as if they might provide a different answer. Sir, the gravitational interference from their fleet will tear us apart. Even if we survive the jump, we have no way to calculate where we'll come out. Actually, we do. Chief Science. Officer Bo-Ram Kim looked up from her station with excitement. Sir, I've been analyzing their fleet formation. The gravitational fields are complex, but they follow a predictable pattern. Explain. Their ships are arranged in a standard imperial formation. Very rigid, very mathematical. If we jump from the exact center of their formation, the gravitational forces will actually help guide us. Guide us where? To the one place in their formation that has the least gravitational interference, the space directly next to the Imperial flagship. Captain Hyun-woo felt a surge of admiration for his crew. Even facing impossible odds, they continued to find solutions to problems that had no solutions. How close to the flagship? Maybe 500 meters, sir? Close enough to deliver a message. Sir, Jae-sung-oh spoke up from his pilot station. Even if we survive the jump, we'll be right next to their most heavily armed ship. They'll destroy us instantly. Will they? Hyun-woo asked. Think about it. We'll appear directly next to the Emperor's personal ship. Will they risk firing heavy weapons that close to their ruler? The crew began to understand. It was not just a desperate gambit. It was psychological warfare taken to its ultimate extreme. Dong-hyun, plot the jump. Bo-Ram, give him the calculations. Everyone else, prepare for emergency decompression, gravitational stress, and immediate combat upon arrival. Throughout the ship, the crew made final preparations. Damage control teams sealed hull breaches. Weapons crews loaded their few remaining missiles. Engineers rerouted power to critical systems. Captain, Min-Soo Choi reported, I'm detecting increased activity in the Zarathi fleet. They know we're here. They're starting to fire into the area where they think we're hiding. Time to jump? 30 seconds, sir, Dong-hyun replied, his hands steady on the controls despite the magnitude of what he was about to attempt. Aboard the Imperial flagship, Emperor Zilkoth stood in his command center watching his fleet fire into empty space. Somewhere in that area was the human ship that had humiliated his forces. Any contact? No, Your Imperial Majesty. But we're detecting energy fluctuations that suggest they're preparing to move. All ships maintain firing pattern. Do not let that ship escape. The space around the Dauntless filled with weapons fire as the Imperial fleet tried to destroy an enemy they could not see. Energy beams and plasma bolts crossed paths in a deadly light show. Jump in 10 seconds, Dong-hyun announced. So Young, the moment we arrive, I want you to hack directly into the flagship's external communications array. Already prepared, sir. Yoon-ji, target their shield generators. Don't destroy them, just disable them. Understood, sir. All hands, brace for hyperspace. The Dauntless's hyperspace drive activated with a sound like reality tearing. For a moment, that lasted both forever and no time at all, the ship existed between dimensions. The crew felt their bodies stretched across impossible distances while their minds struggled to comprehend spaces that had no meaning. Then they were back in normal space. 500 meters from the bow of Emperor Zilkoth's flagship. The massive, Imperial vessel filled their viewports like a metal mountain. Its hull stretched for kilometers in every direction, bristling with weapons and armor that could withstand anything short of planetary bombardment. "All stop!" Jae Sung-oh shouted, fighting to bring their ship under control after the traumatic. "Jump! Damage report!" "Multiple system failures," Jin-ho called out. "But we're alive, sir. The ship is holding together." "So young now." The AI specialist's fingers flew across her console as she sent human computer viruses directly into the flagship's communication system. At point-blank range, even the Empire's most advanced defenses could not stop the intrusion. Every speaker on the Imperial flagship activated simultaneously. "Emperor Zilkoth," Captain Hyunwoo's voice echoed through the massive ship's corridors. "This is Captain Kim of the United Earth ship Dauntless." In his command center, the Emperor stared at the small human ship floating just outside his windows. His security officers were shouting orders, his gunners were requesting permission to fire, his admirals were demanding explanations. "You now have a choice," the human captain continued. "You can order your fleet to destroy us, but we are close enough to your ship that any weapon powerful enough to penetrate our hull will also damage yours." Zilkoth felt a chill run through his carapace. The human was right. At this range, energy weapons would pass through the small frigate and strike his own ship. Kinetic weapons would create debris clouds that would sandblast his hull. Plasma weapons would expand and engulf both vessels. Or, the voice continued, "you can listen to what we have to say." "Your Imperial Majesty," Admiral Velkarn's panicked voice came through the communications system, "the human ship just appeared next to you." "How is that possible?" "I don't know," Zilkoth admitted. "But they're here now." The Emperor looked at the small ship floating so close to his flagship that he could see figures moving through its viewports. One ship against his entire fleet, and somehow they had made it impossible for him to attack them. "Human vessel," Zilkoth spoke into his communication system. "You have demonstrated remarkable courage and capability. What message do you wish to deliver?" Captain Hyunwoo's response came immediately. "We could have sent an antimatter torpedo instead of a transmission. We could have jumped directly into your flagship's shuttle bay. We could have detonated our fusion drive and taken you with us." The Emperor felt his blood freeze. All of those things were true. At point-blank range, the humans could have killed him easily. But we didn't. Do you know why? Tell me. Because humanity does not seek the destruction of the Zarathi Empire. We seek recognition. We want you to understand that we will not be conquered, subjugated, or ignored. Zilkoth stared at the human ship. "And if I refuse?" "Then this demonstration will be repeated in every Imperial system until you understand. Humanity has patience, Emperor. We can do this for as long as necessary." For the first time in 3 centuries, Emperor Zilkoth found himself truly considering negotiation with an enemy. "What do you propose?" "A simple acknowledgement. Humanity is to be classified as a sovereign power. Our territory is to be respected. Our ships are to be allowed free passage through Imperial space. And in return, we will leave your empire alone. We have no interest in conquest or expansion into Zarathi territory." The Emperor looked around his command center. His officers stared at him with expressions of confusion and fear. They had never seen their ruler in a position where he could not simply order the destruction of his enemies. "You ask me to treat your 50 systems as equal to my 40,000. Yes, that is unprecedented. So was everything else that happened here today." Emperor Zilkoth realized he was facing a decision that would define the future of his empire. He could refuse and face an endless war against an enemy that had already proven they could strike anywhere, any time. Or he could. The human fleet that emerged from hyperspace was nothing like what Emperor Zilkoth expected. Instead of massive dreadnoughts or overwhelming numbers, he saw precision. 47 ships arranged in perfect formation, each vessel identical to the Dauntless that had just devastated his fleet. "Your Imperial Majesty," Admiral Velkarn's voice crackled through the communication system. "The human fleet is maintaining position at the system's edge. They're not advancing, but they're not retreating either." Zilkoth studied the tactical display. The human ships formed a defensive screen that would allow the damaged Dauntless to reach safety. But more importantly, their presence sent a clear message. The attack on his capital system had not been the desperate gambit of a single ship. It was part of a coordinated strategy. "Admiral, what is the status of our fleet?" The pause before Velkarn answered told the Emperor everything he needed to know. "We have lost 237 vessels, Your Imperial Majesty. Another 115 are too damaged to fight. Casualties are estimated at over 40,000 dead and wounded." The numbers hit Zilkoth like physical blows. In one engagement, he had lost nearly half of his third armada. The economic cost alone would strain the Imperial treasury for years. And the human ship? Damaged but functional. Your Imperial Majesty. It appears to be withdrawing under escort. On board the Dauntless, Captain Hyunwoo surveyed his battered bridge. Smoke drifted from damaged consoles, several crew members sported bandages, and the ship's systems ran on emergency power. "Damage assessment," he called out. Jin-Ho Lee consulted his engineering displays. "Hull integrity at 40%, sir. We've lost main power to decks 3 through 6. Life support is stable, but running on backup systems." "Casualties? 23. "Wounded, sir. No fatalities. The medical bay reports all injuries are treatable." Hyunwoo felt a surge of pride. His crew had faced the most powerful military force in the galaxy and survived. More than survived. They had won. "Yunji, what's our weapon status?" 6 railguns operational out of 12, sir. Missile systems are offline. Energy weapons at 60% capacity. Enough to defend ourselves if necessary. "Yes, sir. But not enough for another prolonged engagement." The captain nodded. The mission had always been about demonstration, not destruction. They had proven their point. "Min Su, open a channel to the escort fleet." "Channel open, sir." Admiral Changmin Park's weathered face appeared on the main screen. The commander of the human fleet looked relieved to see his former student alive. "Hyunwoo, it's good to see you in one piece. When we detected that fleet formation, we thought we might be too late." The Dauntless held together, sir. The crew performed magnificently. "I can see that. Your after-action report is going to be interesting reading." Captain Hyunwoo smiled grimly. "It was educational, sir. The Zarathi are capable opponents, but they rely too heavily on overwhelming force. And their response to our arrival? They're maintaining position. I think we've given them something to think about." Admiral Park studied his tactical displays. "Indeed, our intelligence was correct. They've never faced an enemy that could match their technology." Throughout the Imperial fleet, confusion reigned. Ship commanders demanded orders while their crews struggled to understand what had happened. A single enemy vessel had penetrated their defenses, destroyed hundreds of ships, and escaped under escort. Nothing in Imperial military doctrine covered this situation. "Your Imperial Majesty," his science advisor approached the throne carefully, "we have completed our analysis of the human weapons." "Report." Their technology is not necessarily superior to ours, Your Imperial Majesty, but it is different. They appear to have developed specialized systems designed specifically to counter our standard tactics. Zilkoth leaned forward. Explain. Their ship used adaptive shielding that learned from each attack. Their weapons were designed to penetrate Imperial armor. Their electronic warfare systems were programmed with detailed knowledge of our computer protocols. They have been studying us for decades, Your Imperial Majesty. Perhaps longer. The Emperor felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. While his empire had dismissed humanity as insignificant, they had been watching, learning, preparing. What else do we not know about them? Your Imperial Majesty, we are conducting a full review of all human intelligence. But based on today's demonstration, our previous assessments were severely flawed. Intelligence Minister Kexdell entered the throne room with obvious reluctance. Your Imperial Majesty, we have received reports from the other systems. What reports? The human demonstrations, Your Imperial Majesty. Ships identical to the one that attacked us have appeared in 11 other Imperial systems. Zilkoth's 4 eyes blazed with fury and something else. Fear. Details. Each ship performed similar operations, Your Imperial Majesty. They penetrated our defenses, engaged local fleets, and delivered the same message. Then they withdrew when human escort fleets arrived. Casualties? Over 1,500 ships destroyed or damaged across all systems, Your Imperial Majesty. The humans appear to have coordinated simultaneous attacks throughout our empire. The Emperor sat back in his throne. 1,500 ships. The economic and military cost would take years to recover from. But the psychological cost might be even higher. Your Imperial Majesty, Admiral Velkarn's voice interrupted his thoughts. The human fleet is beginning to withdraw. Should we pursue? Zilkoth studied the tactical display. His remaining ships outnumbered the human fleet by more than 10 to 1. But after what he had witnessed, he was no longer certain that numbers mattered. No. Let them go. Your Imperial Majesty? I said, let them go, Admiral. The Emperor watched as the human ships formed up around the damaged Dauntless. Their formation was perfect, their movements coordinated with mechanical precision. They looked nothing like the chaotic retreat of a defeated enemy. Your Imperial Majesty, his chief advisor spoke quietly. Perhaps we should consider their proposal. You think I should negotiate with them? Your Imperial Majesty, they have demonstrated the ability to strike anywhere in our empire. They have proven their technology can match ours, and they have shown restraint by not pressing their attack. Zilkoth considered this. The humans could have destroyed his flagship. They could have killed him personally. Instead, they had delivered a message and withdrawn. What would you advise? Acknowledge their sovereignty, Your Imperial Majesty. It costs us nothing, and it prevents further conflicts. It costs us our reputation for invincibility. Your Imperial Majesty, I believe that reputation has already been lost. The Emperor looked around his command center. His officers avoided. His gaze, their confidence shattered by the day's events. For the first time in centuries, the Imperial fleet had been defeated in open combat. Your Imperial Majesty, the communications officer reported, we're receiving a final transmission from the human captain. Put it through. Captain Hyunwoo's image appeared on the main screen. His uniform was torn and he showed signs of the battle, but his expression remained calm and confident. Emperor Zilkoth, the United Earth ship. Dauntless is withdrawing from your system. We thank you for your consideration of our proposal. Captain Kim, your demonstration has been effective, but you have also caused significant damage to Imperial forces. We regret the loss of life, Emperor. But sometimes the cost of peace requires a demonstration of strength. Zilkoth found himself nodding. It was a philosophy he understood well. What assurance do I have that these attacks will not continue? Our ships will withdraw from all Imperial systems once we receive acknowledgement of human sovereignty. We seek coexistence, not conquest. And if other species see your success as encouragement for their own rebellions, Captain Hyun-woo smiled. That, Emperor, is your problem to solve, but I would suggest that ruling through respect might be more effective than ruling through fear. The transmission ended. Emperor Zilkoth sat in silence for several minutes. Around him, his advisors waited for orders that would determine the future of the galaxy's greatest empire. "Draft a declaration," he said finally. "Humanity is to be recognized as a sovereign power. Their territory is to be respected. Their ships are to be granted free passage through Imperial space." "Your Imperial Majesty," General Vextar protested, "this will be seen as surrender." "No, General. This will be seen as wisdom." The Emperor stood and walked to the massive windows of his command center. In the distance, he could see the human fleet disappearing into hyperspace. 47 small ships that had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. "Send word throughout the Empire," he commanded. "The age of casual expansion is over. From now on, we proceed with caution." As the last human ship vanished from his sensors, Emperor Zilkoth realized that his empire would never be the same. For 3 centuries, they had believed themselves invincible. Today, a species from the galactic rim had proven them wrong. The galaxy had changed, and change, as the humans had just demonstrated, could be a very dangerous thing. 3 months after the Battle of Velthar Prime, as historians would later call it, Captain Hyun-woo Kim stood in the memorial garden of Earth's capital city. The morning sun cast long shadows across the marble wall that bore the names of those who had died in humanity's first major engagement with a galactic superpower. 23 names from the Dauntless, 47 from other human ships that had participated in the coordinated strikes, 70 souls who had changed the course of galactic history. "Captain Kim?" Hyun-woo turned to see a young reporter holding a recording device. The woman looked, nervous but determined. "I'm writing a story about the battle. Could you tell me what it felt like to face the entire Zarathi fleet?" The captain smiled gently. "Terrifying, exhilarating, necessary." Necessary? Humanity needed to establish its place in the galaxy. We could have remained quiet, built up our fleets over centuries, hoped the great powers would leave us alone. But history shows that approach doesn't work. Eventually, someone always comes for you, the reporter nodded. And now? Now they know. We exist. More importantly, they know we won't go quietly. Across the galaxy, the effects of that single battle continued to ripple outward. On the Zarathi homeworld, Emperor Zilkoth stood in his private chambers reviewing intelligence reports that painted a picture he barely recognized. "Your Imperial Majesty," Intelligence Minister Kexdal entered with obvious reluctance. "The latest reports from the outer systems. How many this time?" 17 species have declared independence in the past month, Your Imperial Majesty. The Velkari, the Thexnul, the Zorthak Confederation. Zilkoth's claws clicked against his throne. Each report brought news of another. Rebellion, Another system lost to the empire he had spent 3 centuries building. They cite the human demonstration as inspiration? Yes, Your Imperial Majesty. They believe that if humanity could defeat our fleet, perhaps they can as well. The Emperor studied a tactical display showing the current state of his empire. Red zones marked areas of rebellion or unrest. The red had been spreading steadily, since the humans had humiliated his forces. Perhaps they are right. Your Imperial Majesty? Nothing, Minister. Continue with your report. The economic impact is becoming severe, Your Imperial Majesty. Military expenditures to suppress the rebellions, combined with the cost of replacing ships lost in the human engagement, are straining our resources. Zilkoth nodded grimly. The humans had accomplished something no military force had managed in 3 centuries. They had made the Zarathi Empire question its own invincibility. What news from the human territories? They have honored their agreement. Your Imperial Majesty. No human ships have entered Imperial space since the battle. Their merchant vessels request permission before crossing our borders, and they have made no aggressive moves toward our colonies. So they keep their word. It appears so, Your Imperial Majesty. On board the rebuilt UES Dauntless, now serving as the flagship of humanity's deep space exploration fleet, Commander Yoon-Ji Park reviewed the latest intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Captain, she called to Hyun-Woo as he entered. The bridge. You might want to see this. What is it? Reports from the Galactic Trade Council. They've officially recognized humanity as a major power and extended an invitation to join their governing board. Hyun-Woo raised an eyebrow. 6 months ago, the Trade Council had barely acknowledged human existence. Now they wanted humanity to help govern galactic commerce. What's Earth Command's response? Admiral Kim is recommending acceptance. She believes it's important to establish our voice in galactic affairs. The captain nodded. Admiral Ji Young. Kim, his sister, and the head of Earth's military forces, had always been better at politics than he was. Any other interesting developments? The Corvani Federation has requested a mutual defense pact. The Telesh Republic wants to purchase human military technology, and the Zarathi Empire has proposed a non-aggression treaty. Hyun-Woo smiled. All of this from one battle. One battle that changed everything, sir. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Changmin Park reviewed the deployment orders for the human fleet. 47 ships had become the foundation for humanity's new role in galactic affairs. Admiral, his communications officer reported, incoming message from the Zarathi border. One of their patrol fleets is requesting assistance. Assistance? With what? Pirate raiders, sir. Their force is outnumbered and requesting backup. Chang Min considered this. 6 months ago, the Zarathi Empire would have destroyed any human ship that entered their territory. Now they were asking for help. Deploy the 2nd Squadron. Tell them to render all possible assistance. Yes, sir. The Admiral watched his ships jump to hyperspace. Humanity's rise to galactic prominence had been swift, but it had also created new responsibilities. Other species now looked to them for leadership, protection, and guidance. In his private study on Earth, Director Won-Sik Lee of Human Intelligence Services compiled his monthly report for the World Council. The data painted a picture of a galaxy in transition. Human colonies report increased trade requests from 17 different species, he dictated to his recording device. Our technology exchange programs have been overwhelmed with applications. Military advisors have been requested by 9 different governments. He paused to review his notes. Most significantly, 3 species have modified their military doctrines, based on human tactics demonstrated at Velthar Prime. The small ship, high-technology approach is being adopted across the galaxy. Director Lee smiled as he added the final note to his report. Recommendation: humanity should prepare for a leadership role in galactic affairs. Whether we wanted it or not, we have become a major power. In the depths of space, near the edge of human territory, the UES Venture conducted a routine patrol. Captain Ye-Jin Park, Hyun-woo's cousin and a veteran of the coordinated strikes, monitored the sensor displays with practiced efficiency. "Captain," her tactical officer reported, "we're detecting a distress signal from the neutral zone. Origin? Unknown. Ship, sir. The signal is using old Imperial codes, but the vessel doesn't match any known Zarathi configuration." Ye-Jin studied the sensor data. "It could be a trap." "Yes, sir, but the distress signal appears genuine." The captain made her decision with the confidence that had become characteristic of human fleet officers. "Set course to intercept. Battle. Stations." The Venture found a damaged ship drifting in space. Its hull showed signs of weapons fire, and life support was failing. The vessel carried refugees from one of the species that had recently declared independence from the Zarathi Empire. "Captain," the lead refugee explained over the communications system, "we heard that humans help those in need. We hoped—" "You hoped correctly," Ye-Jin replied. "Prepare to be taken aboard." As her crew worked to rescue the refugees, Captain Park reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had gone from being ignored to being seen as protectors of the weak and oppressed. Back on Earth, in the council chambers where humanity's leaders met to guide their species' destiny, President Sora Chang addressed the assembled representatives. 6 months ago, we were a minor power struggling to be heard. Today, we are being asked to mediate disputes between species that have existed for millennia." The president looked around, the chamber at the faces of those who had guided humanity through its transition to galactic prominence. "The question before us is simple. What kind of power do we want to be?" Secretary of Defense Admiral Ji-Young Kim stood to address the council. The Zarathi Empire ruled through fear and overwhelming force. They demanded submission from every species they encountered. She activated a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. "We have the opportunity to create a different model. Leadership through cooperation, strength through alliance, peace through mutual respect." Foreign Minister Tae-hyun Park added his perspective. 17 species have requested formal alliance with humanity. 23 more have proposed trade agreements. For the first time in galactic history, a major power is being invited to lead rather than forcing its dominance. President Chang nodded thoughtfully. "And the cost?" "Responsibility," Admiral Kim replied. "We can no longer focus solely on human interests. Our actions affect species across the galaxy." "Then we accept that responsibility," the president declared. "Humanity will lead by example. We will show the galaxy that strength can be used to protect rather than conquer." On the Zarathi homeworld, Emperor Zilkoth received a transmission that would have been unthinkable 6 months earlier. The human president was offering assistance in dealing with the rebellions that plagued his empire. "We do not seek to weaken the Zarathi Empire," President Chang's message explained. "Galactic stability requires strong, responsible governments. Humanity is prepared to help mediate disputes between your empire and rebellious systems." The Emperor studied the offer carefully. The humans were proposing to help stabilize his empire in exchange for political reforms that would give subject species more autonomy. "Your Imperial Majesty," his chief advisor counseled, "accepting human assistance would be seen as a sign of weakness." "Would it?" Zilkoth replied. "Or would it be seen as wisdom? The humans have proven they can destroy us if they choose. Instead, they offer partnership. Your Imperial Majesty, draft a response. Tell them we are interested in their proposal. The